Hey guys, how's it going? Hayden here. Today I got a special guest, one of my best buds, Eric Hoffman. We are going to basically cover kind of his whole journey here. He started right around July, like end of July, around the time I got the warehouse, which was July 25th. And I thought he'd bring tremendous value and basically just like real talk of his journey. The highs and the lows, it's not all rosy out there, and just kind of give you some insight on what's been going on. So anyways, welcome, Eric. So I want to start with basically tell us about kind of the journey and the highs and the lows that you've had so far.
Well, I think it's easier to get into the business when you have somebody like yourself that has 3, 4, 5, 6 months ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I was already seeing consistent paychecks, and your growth is just incrementally month over month growing.
Yeah. So kind of like a proof in the pudding.
Yeah, proof in the pudding, and knowing that the more books I get in sooner, the more the quicker I'm going to get a return on that money.
Right.
Based on kind of what you say of you sell through about 20% of your inventory a month.
Yeah.
And if you're averaging, about $6 to $7 of net profit a book,
mm-hmm.
you can start doing math yourself about what kind of growth you want to have. I guess.
How important are the numbers in this business?
Numbers that's the only thing.
Like
that
everything.
matters.
Everything, exactly. And I just ranted on a video earlier about how many people aren't looking at their numbers and tracking it. It's everything. Like, you need to know your numbers. That's something where Eric has an advantage over most people, is he was always asking me about numbers over and over again, because that's what you have to base everything on. But I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, no worries. So, basically there's a few ways of sourcing books. Getting the warehouse that Hayden did, that allows you to do bulk buy of Gaylords of books, which is basically pallets full of books, 1,000 books, 500 to 1,000 books, that then you're just buying at let's say $70 a Gaylord, and you're scanning every book and you're hoping to get X amount out of, at least between 40 to 60 books you hope out of each Gaylord, which would ultimately bring your cost per book, per green book, to between $1 to $2 a book. Right. What you're basically buying them for if you're doing a bulk buy of Gaylords.
Right.
Now, if you go to your local retail Goodwill store or half-price books, where they have a clearance section, you're looking to buy books for between $1 and $4 a book. For the Goodwill stores here in Austin, their paperbacks are $2 a book, and hard covers are $4 a book.
It's fucking expensive.
And
the hardcovers.
So what you realize, is even though you're going green, scanning them, and you have your trigger set on your app, that just because it's like, oh, it's a $4 book and you're going to make $4 on it, is that really the best ROI right now, at least starting off? Now, if you're already established, 6 months to a year in, and you have enough cash flow to pay for those, that's fine, because it's going to up your inventory and you're going to sell it faster. But in the beginning, I gotta strongly advise against going for the $4 books unless they're at least 3xing your money. Mm-hmm. Meaning, at least if it's $12 a profit a book. I think there's one Dr. Phil book. It's like the 2020 diet that I found, like 4 of those.
The red one?
And those are each like $18 a profit. So it's like, of course I'm gonna get those if the numbers make sense.
Right.
But basically, there's certain days that you want to scan at those retail stores, which it's like Friday they put all of the new labels out. It's either like Thursday afternoon, Friday they put the new labels on.
All depends, like,
Yeah,
what
it all
store it
depends on the
is.
store.
Mondays sometimes they do the white sticker sales.
And so basically it's like you'll want to be one of the first to scan those new color tags that they put on them. But then you can go on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they have different sales where instead of being $2 paperback and $4 a hardcover, all of a sudden it's $1 paperback, $2 a hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
So when you set your triggers, all of a sudden, books that you were scanning that went red last Friday are now going green.
Right.
And
it's huge.
you really just want to keep your book price that you're buying them cost between $1 and $2. Now, in order to, if you are going to spend $4 or $2, $3 on some books, you got to find a way to bring your average down, because once again, it's just a big numbers game. Mm-hmm. So you might pay more for some books, but then you got to offset that by buying books for less.
Yeah.
Meaning, you can go to the Goodwill outlet where you can get 5 books for $1, being 20 cents a book, and it's not pretty there. It's really not pretty.
Yeah, wait, so tell us about some of these experiences over there. I mean, and this is like real talk, guys. Like, it's not, like I said, like a lot of people do this for a living. So, I mean, it gets a little crazy out there. But anyways, go ahead.
So I remember talking to Hayden and him telling me about the Goodwill outlets. And I thought, Goodwill retail stores, I hadn't spent much time really in Goodwill stores.
Yeah. Just
personally, I shop at TJ Maxx and Ross.
The smart shopper.
And never really thought about Goodwill, let alone for books. And so, first few times you're going into Goodwill stores, and you might have your headphones on and you're scanning books and you're kind of looking around like, is this okay, and are people judging me? And I guess the thing is, you just got to take it as this is your job. This is your job, is to hunt for money. Basically, you're basically panning.
What'd your dad call it?
You're mining
You're
for
a miner,
gold.
yeah.
You're mining for gold.
He's a miner.
You don't know which books are green and how much they're worth looking at all the books. You just got to scan them all.
Yeah.
And the first few times I went, Hayden just said scan every book.
Right. And
so I would scan every book, and then you start to realize after a few stores and a few thousand books of doing that like some books, certain sections or types of books or certain authors aren't the green books, and so it's like, why waste your time on those books?
John Grisham, Sandra, blanking on her last name now, but there's like a ton of these books you see all the time, and you're just like, oh my god.
It's not just the thick hardcover books that look nice with the nice cover that are worth a lot of money. Right. It is specialized books. It is non-fiction books.
Kind of like weird books too, right? Like the weirder, the better, almost.
More niche. Really, it's like more niche or textbook. Those, and really just like the fiction doesn't come through for the most part. Most of it is non-fiction. I'm not saying don't scan fiction, but after a while you just kind of realize that, even if they are green, it's not much of a profit. So going from, first being intimidated or, feeling a bit odd, going into...
you're like self-conscious almost. You're like looking around, checking your shoulder. Like,
going into different Goodwill stores and spending an hour or two scanning every book in there. And, sometimes you get no books. Yeah. Or, you might be in there for an hour and you only get 4 books.
And you scan like 2,000 books, and you're like, oh my god.
And so you start to realize, like, maybe somebody already scanned all of these books before me.
Right.
And so like that's like kind of like something I'll look at is like how out of place do the books look? Like if somebody was scanning them and then pulling out books, like kind of what happens to those books kind of collapsing, you know, before the Goodwill employees start to fill them back up again.
Right.
So you get kind of like you'll kind of figure that out as well. That's why it's important to be there on the days that they put them out new, or to like reset your triggers when they go on sale.
Which also you don't know when they're going to put them out. So like for me, like you want to talk, like I was super, like I networked with everyone at the stores, like trying to make friends, like, dude, Gary, like when are you putting the books out? And they'll tell you most of the time. If you're friendly and nice, I mean they'll tell you when they do that. So you got to just find out. And like to add on that, the reason why I told Eric like scan every book the first time you've been to a new spot is next time if it's a Goodwill, you just go find the updated date, and then you're in there, in and out, boom, like 5 minutes. You see everything you can. It's going to be a much better use of your time and money, and you'll just be out of there and good to go like within seconds versus not being aware of where you were. Shit, have I scanned this? I don't know. I'm going to scan them again. That's like a huge tip right there, is to make sure that you're documenting everywhere you go. I had an Excel spreadsheet for a long time. You know, the date that I last visited, I put it in there. The date being the sticker date, actually, not the date. Well, actually both. You want the date you visited and the sticker date because they don't put them out every single day. So
yeah. Nobody wants to rescan twice, basically. So like, you know, write down what color it is, you know, that was new when you went there and like that were on sale, for instance. And, you know, the next week you won't have to scan all those other books with the same colors. You're only going to scan the new ones. So that's just a way to become more efficient. So bringing that back from going, you know, to how to get your average cost per book between $1 to $2 is going to the retail outlet the Goodwill outlet store, where you can get 5 books for $1, which is 20 cents a book.
Yeah.
Well, the way they do it there is it's not bookshelves that you just can go in and, you know, have your headphones on and scan. They have big blue carts that they tip over gaylords of books. So there's just tons of books and, you know, all sorts of other junk, you know, combined, that like before it gets sorted and shipped out to the retail stores, they literally take the donations, put them in these big blue bins, and then bring them into like this big warehouse with like lines of them. And then there's people lined up, and you know, the Goodwill employees are saying, stay behind this line, like until we say go, and all of a sudden they say, okay, go, and it's like a mad dash of people running and jumping on these blue, you know, big bins. And, you know, I remember seeing it for the first time. There's scanners there that are you know, you could just tell that they've been doing this for a while. They don't seem intimidated. They're veterans. And basically, you know, I'm trying to be like, all right, like I got this section of books that I'll just kind of scan, and all of a sudden, like, they're coming around me and taking books, you know, from right in front of me, and it's like, whoa, like there's other books over there, like
they don't care.
It's like, no, and basically, they knew what kind of books to look for. And they're just grabbing as many as they can that came off the line and putting them in their basket or cart, and just going and grabbing more. Instead of scanning at the cart, they're just grabbing books that look good, bringing them to their basket,
hoarding them,
and then scanning them when they have some free time. So that's kind of like, your
first learning lesson.
Once you experience, you know, this kind of intimidation, as well as a little bit of like shock and, you know, the smell, and like, I can't believe I'm in a Goodwill outlet lined up to run and, you know, get books as intensely as some of these people. And I guess it all comes back to like the first time's a shock, and then you learn, and then it becomes your job, and you're just like, you know what, like, it's a dog eat dog world. Like, these are my books, this is my paycheck as well. I got to go get these books, and like that's gonna ultimately make my numbers better, because if I was spending $4 on some hardcover books that, even if they 3x my money, I might not get that money for a few months.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it's like I gotta up my inventory with a lot of books that I can buy for less, and that's why the Goodwill outlet is a good place to go in order just to get books for cheap. Now you can also be waiting there for a long time when it's like, you don't just always walk in there, and I have, where there's books that haven't been scanned before, and I had a great day where I got like 45 books in like an hour, and I was like the only person there, and it was like, oh my god, I paid like $7 for all of these books, or $9, whatever it is, and
dirt cheap,
dirt cheap, and it's like, oh, that's like pure profit right there, and that's like a great feeling. But then there's times where the first few times I went, I waited for like 3 hours, and I got less than 5 books, but yet they charged me $1 because you got to pay at least $1 for the 5 books. But it's a bit of a shock the first time, and
that can be a downer too, right? Like you get down on yourself. You're like, dude, I just like spent a half day. I got 5 books and netted like $10. Like, you're gonna have those days all the time. So you have to be like mentally prepared and like mentally tough to just get through all the crap days, because they're gonna get better. As long as you're going to the right sources and doing what you need to do and buying right, it'll eventually work its way out, and you will do good. But it's not all roses, like I said. It's like, I talked with Eric like every day, on this whole journey, and you've been doing this. You just a little over 30 days, right? Like 40 days or something.
Yeah.
And so you want to let's segue there. Do you want to talk about kind of like, I think you got 599 books, which is actually, for newbies out there, the average that they, there's a lot of gurus that do books right now, and they say if you can send in 100 books a week, that's like a good number to hit. And so Eric did 599 books in about 40 days, so he was above average. He did, something like, 130 a week if you average it out or whatever. So he did what you were supposed to do in terms of sending the amount of books. So do you want to talk about kind of what, like, your overall cost you think you paid, kind of like what you're seeing in return so far? And like before he talks, we decided we're going to do a consignment model together because for several reasons. One, the turnover time was going to be a lot quicker. I already have the ratings, I have the buy box, all that stuff. So you'd sell his stuff faster. Just a heads up for everyone before it gets going.
Yeah, so, basically, if, I have 599 books, I want to say I've put in about $1,100 or so into buying just the books, which is less, that's $1.84 a book.
So he's on target. That's what you want.
Between $1 and $2 a book is what you need to be getting them for, because your average profit margin is going to be 6 to 7.
Yeah.
And so basically what I've found is kind of the best way is just to do like a mix of being strategic about doing some from the outlet, some from the retail stores, and some from other sources, whether it's a library closing or a garage sale on Saturday morning, or you just got to find those books, and yard sales. You can make deals. $1 a book, 50 cents, 25 cents. A lot of people are just trying to get rid of them.
Absolutely.
I think what else should I list?
Well, so again, like, his turnover is quicker than most people because he's working with me on this. But we ran numbers, and just for you guys to know, the average turnover rate of books should be anywhere from 20 to 25% a month. So he had about 600 books to start. So on average, he should be selling about 120 of those books the first 30 days he started. He actually sold 29%. So he had a higher than average sell-through rate. And essentially at this point, he's about break even, but he still has, you've sold 176 books so far out of 599. So he still has over 400 books that are essentially, they're going to be pure profit from now on in this consignment model, because he's not paying inventory fees or any of that stuff. I pay it. That comes out of my portion of the revenue. So, you just need to be prepared to play the long game. No matter how big you go in books, it's going to take time to get your money back. A lot of you specifically, actually, a lady reached out to me the other day and was talking about how she's freaking out about her payout she's getting. And it's like, okay, well, tell me about, how many books have you sent in? Which one, it was way too few. You got to be sending in quite a bit of books, but all you new sellers are going to have something called a reserve fund, which essentially it takes risk off Amazon in case your shipments are done wrong or you get returns or whatever. So they're going to be holding a big portion of your money in the beginning that you're going to be paid back. So your cash flow, and that's something we'll talk about the cash flow part. You're going to have issues with cash flow. Like if you're not starting this from a good place, you don't have money saved up or whatever, do not be throwing all this on credit cards, because it's going to be a little bit before you see that return. And if you want to jump in, you can cover that cash flow aspect, which we talk about all the time.
Yeah, I think the cash flow aspect is, part of the equation that, helped me go to a consignment basis first, because I would get my money back faster. Mm-hmm. If you have somebody in your area that does this, you can talk to them about doing it. But, I'm lucky to have, my best friend doing this and kind of showing me the ropes. And it's good because I got a bunch of books early, but then I found that, all of a sudden my credit card statements are hitting and I have a serious cash flow problem. It's like, even though I have the potential profit of, $2,000-$3,000 or whatever, that
I'll get that number. Keep going.
That I don't have that money right now, and all of a sudden it's like I'm seeing my credit card statements build up, and it's like, well, I need to get my payout in order just to pay this off. Right. So I guess for a couple weeks I just I had bought Gaylords first. My big thing was I wanted to get my inventory up faster.
Right. Which you did. It works.
I did.
It works. And your cost was good.
But the thing is, you're just going to have a little bit of breathing room in order to get your payouts coming.
Right.
And so it's like, once I just got my payout today, I'm breathing a lot better. And it's like, okay, now I can get more books and keep my inventory growing.
Right.
So then I just have a consistent monthly paycheck that's growing every month from these, because I still have, if I only sold 20% of my inventory or 29% of my inventory,
which is hard.
I still got 71% of my inventory left. I still got 400 books left to sell plus. So it's like, if I can get, another 100 books a week over the next month in there, mm-hmm. and just keep that steadily growing, then it's like I have a consistent paycheck that is growing coming in. And really it's like, you're not gonna really profit until you're probably 3 months or so in.
We were talking 3 or 4 months.
3 to 4 months. By month 5 you're having some nice paychecks.
Yeah.
But I thought for me the most important part was just getting that inventory up first, and just being committed to getting a bunch of books and being like, I'm just gonna sweat this out. I'm gonna check my ego in at the door before I go into these Goodwill outlets and fight all these other people for these books. Stuff that I never thought I would have to do. But what it comes down to is just making that paycheck. And it's like, you know, having a job, you know, like this where you can put in hard work, and then all of a sudden, you know, after 6 months, a year, you know, if you need to take some time off, whether to visit family or whatever, then you still have a business that's still selling when you're not even doing like hard work at that time. And that's like the big thing that like both of us I think are fighting for is some of that freedom. But don't get me wrong, the first few months it's a grind, and you will have a bit of a panic at times with your cash
like, what
flow.
the hell? You're like, what? You know, you just like freak. You're like, what the heck? Like, why are my payouts not getting bigger? Like, what's going on? I'm freaking breaking my back, like day in and day out.
Yeah, and I guess it's like if you're doing it on your own, it's so important just to get that inventory up, you know, quick.
Yeah.
But you also want to be conscious and consistent to not outspend what you can pay off, because you're only going to be getting 20% of that potential profit each month. So it's really always coming back down to the numbers, not getting overly aggressive. But like if you can find that, you know, that straight and narrow line, you know, walk that tightrope, and, you know, kind of push it the first few months, you know, then you're going to be happy when month 4 and 5 come around, and so on and so forth. As long as you have that inventory up, I think Hayden said about when you have like 2,000 books in inventory, that's like when you're consistently selling a bunch. You know, I'm fine doing the consignment with him right now. Until, you know, I feel like I want to do it just on my own, or like if you want to do it just part-time, partnering up with somebody who has a big inventory list and a buy box makes it easier to get, you know, your cash back sooner, your investment sooner.
Without a doubt, like you will, 100%. And would you agree that if you're new and starting out, wouldn't it be ideal to get, like, let's just say you start off yourself brand new consigning for other people, because then you don't have to put any cash up front. You know, you just have your subscription fee on your account, you get books for free, and you're splitting profits. Then you can start like cash flowing from consignment, and then you can roll that into your own, you can buy your own inventory. Don't you think that would be a good starting point?
Yeah, I mean, I think finding the right partner, if you want to do the consignment way, there's, you know, you can do it multiple ways. I'm happy with our agreement now because I have somebody who's been in this business longer than I have, knows the ins and outs, you know, has shown me proof of sales and that it works, that is like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then you can take it much more seriously as a job as opposed to maybe just a hobby where you go in, you know, to your local Goodwill store, you know, maybe once a week for, you know, less than an hour and scan a couple books and you get 5 books and you're like, oh, I got, you know, $30 in profit. Well, you're not going to sell, you know, if you only have 5 books under your Amazon, you're not going to be able to sell those. But if you go to somebody that has a big Amazon book selling business and you're like, hey, you know, we'll split the profit, well, you're going to get your money back a lot sooner. It might not be as much, but you're going to get it back sooner.
Right.
And then you can decide what you want to do at the right time. But I think consignment is completely fine. I've told Hayden I think there's potential for him in the future, depending on how people pick up the Amazon book sales, you know, with these new apps that tell you how much they're worth right away, that, you know, you should just pay some people a certain percent of cash just to buy the books and get the cash off, you know, get them cash ASAP, opposed to even making them wait, but giving them less of a percent.
Right.
Because really, you know, when you look around at the Goodwill stores or outlets and the people that are scanning these books, a lot of them, you know, these aren't, you know, Harvard professors going in there. These are people that are hungry for money now. Now, some of them, you know, they have
Some of them are pretty driven too.
Some of them have their Amazon business already going, but others, you know, I bet they would want the cash sooner.
Yeah.
And I think there's potential.
So basically, paying scanners, people to scan for me. Essentially.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's a grind, but it's also exciting. You know, I'm only at the end of month 1 right now, just over month 1.
Yeah.
I'm close to breaking even.
Right.
And, you know, then I have more profit on the way. And I've paid off my credit card debt. So now I can use it again to get, you know, some more inventory, some more green books. And, you know, it really doesn't matter how I get those books as long as my average cost per book is between $1 and $2 a book.
Exactly.
That's really all what it comes down to. It doesn't matter if you're buying bulk Gaylords or going to the outlet or going to the retail stores. You just got to stay between that $1 to $2 range, and then your profits are going to be fine.
And that's not talking about scale, guys. That's like when you're new starting, because like obviously in a perfect world, buying bulk, you can scale that way faster, and definitely you can make a lot more money doing bulk, because when you're sourcing, you can only be so many places in a day, unless you're like employing a bunch of scanners for you. But either way, like you said, as long as you're tracking the numbers and you're hitting the right numbers, it doesn't matter where you get your books from in the beginning. Just get as many books as you can. You have to believe in the process. If you're buying books at a good price, go as hard as you can. Buy as many as you can. Get them in as quick as you can. If you buy books and they're sitting in your house, you're losing money. Like, you need to get those out immediately, so then you can then monetize them quicker. They can't be sitting.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just because you weed through and you're like, oh, I got all these stacks of green books.
Yeah.
Those green books aren't money yet. You got to get those into Amazon, ship those in ASAP, as soon as you can. So basically, it's, you know, mine for the books, like a 49er,
pan for gold,
pan for gold, and then get those in right away, because if that inventory is selling 20% a month, you want to get those in ASAP. You can't wait till the end of the week to send in your one shipment. You got to, you know, as soon as you have your boxes filled, doesn't matter if it's 1 box a day or every 2 days.
Right.
Get those in ASAP. Because then, you know, you're going to sell through your inventory quicker. It's all just down to a numbers game. But it's exciting to finally get, you know, like a first, you know, good paycheck that's, you know, got me back to break even.
Right.
Because I was a bit scared there, you know, for a couple of weeks. I was sweating a little bit.
You gotta believe in the process.
It's the power of Amazon.
Yeah.
And you know, having somebody, a mentor, to show me, you know, how to do it. That's the most important thing for me. Is, you know, I believe in Hayden because he's shown me the proof in the pudding, and so it's like, all right, even though I've put up, you know, $1,000, you know, it's coming back and it's gonna grow. That's the most important thing. Is it's a long sales cycle. You know, if I'm just breaking even after a month, but I still have 71% of my inventory to sell, that means I'm going to be getting paychecks for, you know,
a long time. Probably the next 12 months.
And those paychecks,
even though they're not going to be as big. Like there's a you know, over time there's a factor, unless he's adding more books, of course. But he's going to keep getting paychecks over and over again.
Well, it's like if I had, you know, 400 books left, and I didn't add any more, I'm selling 20% a month, then, you know, I'm selling the first month 80 books, and then the second month I'm selling 64 books, and it's going less and less. But that's where, if I keep increasing, you know, putting more inventory in, then every month over month, my paychecks are going to grow.
Right.
And all of a sudden, just going from feeling like, oh yes, I'm like at the break-even point, at month 4 and 5, it's going to be like, I got some pretty sweet paychecks coming in.
Yeah.
And that's where I see Hayden at right now, is he's already got the nice paychecks rolling in, and it's like, you know, doing a consignment deal with him, I'm sure also helps you.
Oh yeah.
Because as a seller on Amazon, then you have better ratings and more inventory.
Yep, more inventory, more ratings. I'm not getting as much per book, but I didn't have any cost up front on a consignment. So with Eric, I worked out a deal. I actually gave him $1 per book. That was like more of a thing to entice him to go with me, and he wanted cash flow quick, so we worked out something between us. But a traditional consignment, you're doing 50-50 or better for you. It should be better for you. I hear some people do 70-30 and no money up front. That's what you want to look for in a consignment. You do not want to put money down. Thing is I knew Eric was working with me in the warehouse. I knew his books. I knew how good they were. I know he looks at the numbers, so there's no question of me losing money on this deal. I knew I was going to make money back, so it was totally worth it for me. And for him.
Yeah, that's a trust factor. And like he was saying, getting them for $1, but basically it's like if the average cost of the 599 books was $1.84, I end up paying 84 cents of those books.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I had other costs.
Right.
Like if you buy Gaylords at the Goodwill outlet, you'll have to pay a $25 deposit for each of your
initial
pallets
yeah.
for the Gaylords. Got bins from Home Depot.
Right.
That's another thing is like with your duds, you're not going to be able to sell them all back to, let's say, half price books, but you can get some money back, and you
yeah.
don't know, just because they go red that you can't sell them on Amazon doesn't mean there isn't still like some money or value to be gotten out of them.
Right.
But books, they are heavy on your back. They it's
my back hurts right now.
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
I think that's where
you need to love it, right? You need to love it.
The mining for the books, you gotta at least enjoy that process. And I feel like when you scan books, and all of a sudden you're just you're going green,
yeah.
you're seeing green books.
It's great.
It's like this awesome feeling. Like,
yes.
Oh
yes.
my God,
yes.
this book's worth $70. I can't believe it. And it's like
you're paying 20 cents.
You could be sweating,
what?
scanning, and all of a sudden you get a book worth $30, $50 or more.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like this is like such a good feeling. I'd rather be doing this
than hitting the phones.
Than just cold calling people all day.
Yeah, some corporate job.
But yeah, it's a. I'll keep you guys. If Hayden has me back.
No, I will. We will.
About the progress, and
I want to make him a case study. Also, my brother. You're going to hear from my brother soon. I'm going to California tomorrow, and I'm going to be sourcing out in California with my brother. So he's been selling. He had his first full month. I need to get back to you on the numbers he did. I think he did 1,400 in sales, but we're going to give you a full breakdown of my brother's journey too, because he's not doing consignment at all. It's just him on his account, and he's been actually sending in quite a few books. So we're going to see how he's doing. We'll find his cost per book, everything. But we're going to wrap it up. I want Eric, though, before we go, talk to these guys like you're about to tell your brother Mark, a little bit of advice and also some motivation, be honest, totally honest. Would you still do this? Would you take it back? Do you think it's going in the right direction? Just kind of give them a little piece of advice before we go.
I think you go into it with a lot of optimism,
mm-hmm.
and seeing the numbers, and you're like, I want to make that kind of money.
Yeah.
If you run the numbers and you're like, oh, I can plot this out. If I get this many, I can make this much.
Right.
And you set lofty goals, and then you realize, you go out and you scout, different stores or garage sales, and you're not going green, and you're just seeing, you feel like you're wasting a lot of time. It can be very discouraging.
Yeah.
Time, money on gas, or other missed opportunities. And so that can be very discouraging. So the whole inspiration, I think, comes from if you can just fight through that, get your get your books one way or another, beg, borrow, steal. Get those books in, and just know it's a long game. It's not an overnight deal, but in terms of business, it is pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that long. You just got to be okay. You know, once again, it depends on what your cash flow and cash savings are in order to get you through. If you have some money saved up, you can grow your business exponentially
You're ahead of the
faster.
game, right?
But if you're like me and you're already, invested in other things, it's like, okay, having a deal, a consignment deal, where I'm not sweating bullets about getting my money back, then all of a sudden it makes it a lot easier, and it's like, okay, great, like I feel more motivated knowing that I'm not paying the full amount per book. If I'm paying $1 or less per book, but and the thing is, it's like that doesn't include my time.
Sorry guys, we got cut off by a freaking telemarketer. But yeah, finish up, man.
Yeah, just it's all about just fighting through. This is month 1, and finally just hitting the break-even point. Yeah. It feels good knowing that all I have is potential profit. If I stop doing this today and don't do any more scouting, I'm at least going to have some paychecks still coming in for a few months or more, that are just pure profit. Yeah. Now, if I continue sending them in, it's going to grow. So it's really just that first...
Feed the beast.
The first 2 to 3 months, you just got to feed the beast.
Feed the beast.
Tread water, and then,
believe in the process.
Believe in the process, and then, once you start seeing the paychecks, you'll believe it, and you'll, want to do more. But there is definitely times where it goes from optimistic to pessimistic, optimistic, pessimistic, and then as long as you're shipping in those books ASAP, and listening to Hayden and his YouTube videos, he's the guy that I, am following, and I'm very happy with how it's going. So it's all going to be worth it. So
like the last thing for closing, like he's saying it's this in this kind of business, and this is a business. This isn't a hobby, guys. Like if you're doing this, you should be doing this as a business. It is crazy how quickly you can make this successful. Like I'm on month 6, right? And I know it works and I'm making money now. Eric, like of all people, he knows too. He started a company, it's called Loungeroo, and he does travel accessories and apparel. And it's like, dude, like businesses like that, and like I had my own private label too, they're fucking hard, dude. Like you don't see any return. Like I spent 2 years on my business to barely make any money. Like it was such a grind. The emotional roller coaster, just typical entrepreneur stuff, was insane. And like looking at that in his company versus this, it's like it's crazy how you can see the return so much faster. And like I feel like emotionally, at least, the work that we put into our own brands was like, for me at least, I feel like the books were nothing compared to what I had to invest emotionally and even financially into my own brand. And I was just like, oh my God, like it's a great model, you guys.
Books have no feelings. It's literally, you're just mining for gold. It's not like...
There's no market. The marketing is the big thing. Yeah. You don't have to pay, marketing.
You're reselling something that people want.
Yeah, it's
and opposed to selling an idea of yours that like you could be much more attached to. And I'm still pushing, and that's where I'm kind of doing these simultaneously. And it's fine because this isn't, as long as you don't let your emotions get to you with finding these books and selling them in and worrying about the cash flow, then like it's a very brainless job. It's like you just go get your books. You're not emotionally attached. It's like just a job. Don't, if you check in your ego at the door when you go into the Goodwill outlets, the Goodwill stores, places where you probably don't spend a lot of time, but you go in there and you get comfortable. Get comfortable in the uncomfortable is my advice. If you can get comfortable in the uncomfortable, then you're going to be, fine. You're going to be emotionless. You're not going to care what other people think about you. Because what it comes down to is making that paycheck, growing your business, making bigger paychecks month after month, and then being able to take off time and, you know, have your business still making you money while you're not even there scanning books.
Love it, man. Love it. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah.
And shameless plug before we go, if you want a dope-ass sweatshirt, actually it'd be great for scanning, loungeroo.com, or it's now on where?
On Amazon.
Amazon.
Prime, and that's
We love Amazon.
LOUNGAROO, Loungeroo.
Love it.
And it's the high-tech hoodie, so check it out.
Love it. Game changing. Thanks, guys. We will talk to you later. Have a good one.